Hey guys, this is Justin from nextbigtrade.com. In tonight's video, I want to talk about some of the leading sectors in the market currently. In Stan Weinstein's book, he talks about selecting the right sector as being just as important as picking individual stocks. In my opinion, there's really two reasons for this. The first reason is that it increases your odds of success if you're picking stocks in a leading sector, because in general, most stocks in a leading sector will be going higher. And the second reason is that your chances of picking a big winning stock increase with picking stocks in a leading sector, because not only will most stocks be going up in a leading sector, but you'll probably have some big winners in leading sectors in the market. The first sector I wanted to look at tonight is enterprise software. Enterprise software has really been leading the market for multiple years now. The way that I chart sectors against the S&P 500 is what determines whether a sector is leading the market or not. And you can see on this relative strength line down here that enterprise software has been in an uptrend against the S&P 500 for multiple years. There's really been no deviation in that outperformance too. Even during the correction in 2018, you saw a little bit of underperformance, but it quickly reverted. And during the May pullback, we got below the 30-week moving average for just a week in May, and then back above it and trying to make new all-time highs. I really like the volume that occurred on that last week in May, where we saw maybe some capitulation in this software ETF, and then a strong move higher in June. So there's no sign of this trend in the market really ending anytime soon. And if you one of the things to look at with enterprise software is how many new IPOs are coming out. You can even throw in names like Uber and Lyft. I mean, almost all these companies are driven by software that are a lot of the big tech names that are coming out. Slack just came out last week. That's going to be a really interesting stock to watch. I've talked about Atlassian Team being a stock that I've been trading for a while now, for the past couple of years. Square was a big winner. Twilio. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, currently Smartsheet and Anaplan are two of my favorite enterprise software stocks. So it's just something that I feel like is going to continue probably for a while, as long as the market's in a bull market. And I'm sure I'll be talking about stocks in that sector in the near future. The next sector is solar. Now, solar is kind of a boom bust sector. The 2013 rally in solar stocks was really something that was pretty interesting, and you can see that we had a big bust leading into that. But then this is the TAN ETF, kind of came out of a base in 2013, saw an explosion in volume in early 2013, and then a big stage 2 uptrend. Ever since then, we've kind of, it topped out in stage 3, went into a stage 4 decline, and then now we're actually breaking out again out of this kind of multi-year base into stage 2. SunPower is one of the only stocks that, if you look at some of these current solar leading stocks, SunPower is one of the only ones that goes back before around 2016. So, but this was one of the big winners from that 2013 rally. And I think one of the things that happened back here, from what I remember, is where Warren Buffett made some kind of investment in SunPower, and then, it was a critical turning point where we had this stage 1 base that morphed into a explosive stage 2 breakout. And obviously, big gains were won here. Stock moved from around $7 to, $30 to $40 in a year and a half time frame. So big winner here. Will it happen again? Nobody knows, but we do have a nice stage 1 base here that SunPower is breaking out from. We've got a big increase in volume, and we're seeing the same type of increase in volume is happening across almost all the solar stocks. So I think this is actually a stage two that you want to pay attention to. I am currently long SunPower and a couple other solar names, Vivint Solar and Sunrun. So this is definitely a cyclical sector, but has produced big winners in the past. Now, the next sector I want to talk about is gold. Gold, we've been kind of like stalking this stage two breakout for a couple of weeks. I've been talking about it a lot on Twitter and wrote a couple of posts about gold. In my opinion, this is now a confirmed breakout. I was kind of waiting on a volume increase in gold to kind of signal to me that this is actually, a real breakout and not just a fake move that would fall back down and continue this sideways, messy base action. One of the reasons why things have changed is that not only is the volume in gold increased, but you're observing this volume increase across almost any mining stock you look at. Even the silver ETF had a massive increase in volume last week. So to me, it just shows that the institutions are loading up on gold for real here, and we are now ready for a new uptrend in gold. And one thing that's interesting about what's going on now with gold versus what happened in 2016 that I was looking at is, if you look at the S&P 500, I think one of the reasons why gold exploded so much in 2016 was the fact that the S&P 500 was still in a, kind of almost into a stage 4 or potentially breaking down back in early 2016. And when that was going on, gold was really the only game in town. So it's not surprising that so much institutional kind of volume flowed into gold at that point, and that may be why it's been a little bit of a slower reaction so far this time, because of the fact that the S&P 500 is making new all-time highs at the same time gold is breaking out. So there's a competition for capital across all these markets, and the S&P 500, since it happens to be strong still, that there's still a lot of money flowing into stocks, and gold's competing with that. So it may be why the gold breakout wasn't on as big volume as it was back here. Just a kind of a guess, but that makes sense to me. So again, like if you look at GDX, like the volume was a little bit higher on the 2016 breakout versus here, but gold stock wise, if you look at Barrick Gold, a bunch of other gold stocks, I think there's enough kind of confirmation on the charts that, we're definitely in a new uptrend now. And these stocks are so beaten down that, this is probably, of all the sectors right now, I think gold and gold mining is the one that is, has the most potential at this point. Here's Barrick Gold. You can see that, again, like 100 million shares, where the average volume is around 70 million shares, breaking out of resistance. One other thing to note about what happened in gold last week is that we closed near the highs of the move for the week. So the breakout in gold not only, smashed through this resistance at 1350, but it closed around 1400. So it just really took everything out and is now in new all-time high area. Now, finally, let's talk about Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is, one of the craziest markets I think almost anyone that's been following the markets for a while has ever seen. This move that happened in 2017 even blew my expectations away. Obviously, we saw the big spike. This related to the spike in Bitcoin to about $20,000 a Bitcoin, I think it was. This is the GBTC, the Bitcoin trust that you can trade on major market exchanges. And you can see, followed a great stage 2 breakout pattern here, broke out, was basically in a powerful stage 2 uptrend until that climax top in December 2017. Went into a stage 4 decline, based out, and then this year, back in April, showed a big volume increase, broke out into stage 2, retested the 30-week moving average, and then, is continuing its stage 2 advance now. Bitcoin is a little bit extended right now from the moving averages, which I wouldn't be interested really in a new entry here at this point. The other thing too is that there's a lot of resistance from the super spike in Bitcoin that we're kind of starting to get into a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see like how Bitcoin trades after, I think it got over $11,000 a coin this weekend, whether it can really like get into like the $11,000 to $19,000 range before it finds a lot of resistance. And the other thing that's interesting about what's going to happen with this market is that typically the previous, monster bull market winner in any market never becomes the next bull market, outperforming market. So if Bitcoin is able to pull this off where it duplicates what happened in 2017, it'd be one of the, more surprising kind of developments in the markets that I've ever seen. Because again, like whenever a market goes into a boom and has a bust, it doesn't really ever return and become the next big boom right away. It usually takes like years, if not decades, for the same market to produce the same kind of action. A couple examples would be tech stocks, how, when they busted in 2000, they didn't become the next leading market again until about 5 or 6 years ago. Like you had a big commodity boom after the tech bust. The housing bust, like you haven't really seen a big housing boom again, with like housing stocks, and like there's been nothing like that that's happened again since the housing bust in 2008. So Bitcoin's, I'm going to be personally kind of surprised if it does exceed 20,000 on this move, but stranger things have happened, I guess. So always keep an open mind. But again, this is another leading sector in the market, and to kind of wrap things up, an important thing to think about is that there's no reason why you can't trade multiple leading sectors in the market. There's, I've found that, if you're trying to trade one sector and it starts to fail, then, you can just move into another sector. Or if you're diversified across a couple sectors and you find that one of them is not working, well, stop trading that sector and move on to the next, sector that's in stage 2. Like, for example, this year, cannabis stocks had a decent run back in January and February, but they've all kind of topped out, and most stocks are below the 30-week moving average now. So I think really right now there's no reason to trade cannabis until you see the stocks start acting better and they get back above the 30-week moving average. So again, things always change in the markets, and there's no reason to limit yourself to markets that are doing poorly when there's, a lot of different areas in the market that are doing well. So hopefully this makes sense, and we'll definitely be talking about these other markets in the future at nextbigtrade.com.